the Russians chalk up another victory in the space race as they put two manned spacecraft into orbit within 24 hours of each other. Colonel Pavel Povovich and Major Andriy Nikolaev follow in the footsteps of two other Russian astronauts, Titov and Gagarin, and thus give the Soviets 4 manned orbital flights against 2 for the United States. Within 72 hours, the first man aloft traveled more than 1 million miles.
From the mid-1950s, Cold War rivalry between the US and the Russian Soviet Union moved beyond political and military spheres and into competition for technological superiority. This led to the so-called space race, which in total spanned more than 25 years. The competition provided an opportunity for a no-holds-barred battle for ideological supremacy on a global stage, and by 1955, both countries were building ballistic missiles that could be used to launch objects into space. This thereby drew the starting line for the space race. So what happened?
I think it's very much a legacy, a kind of a product of the Second World War. So it's about the post-1945 period, and it's about what the world's become by that point, which is bipolar. You know, two superpowers have emerged in the world, they're contesting with each other, and they're contesting on everything and in everywhere. So economics, politics, military hardware, and space in due course becomes another place and another space that they contest. I guess there are a few possible start points for the space race, but one of them would be 1957 with the Russian launching of Sputnik. I think maybe early 1960s, the election of JFK, 1960, when he says that he promises to put a man on the moon by the end of the 60s, I think is another useful starting point. In terms of an end, I don't think it has ended. I think we might suggest that there is still something of a space race underway right now, with the Americans recently declaring they're going to set up a new space force. So I think it's ongoing. The space race now is different in the extent to which it doesn't always have quite such a kind of an absolute in-your-face ideological component. In the 50s and the 60s it was very much a Cold War confrontation. I guess it's not quite that now because we're not quite in the same era, although it's getting increasingly similar at times as well in terms of East-West, Russia, United States kind of contests.
Dr. Edwards raised some interesting points regarding the space race remaining ongoing. I wanted to find out how the space race continued to hold such influence over these superpower countries today, and if the aims are still solely ideological. Are we moving back to a return to the Cold War as tensions arise? Or can more recent events suggest a new purpose? I had to find out. With this newfound knowledge, I went to Catherine Danks, a modern history lecturer at Manchester, to discuss how similar events to the space race have adapted in contemporary society.
I think maybe the space race has taken on different dimensions. It's about states wanting to be taken seriously, and it's about their economy, it's about their politics, it's about defence or offence. And so China is very much saying, we are the 21st century country, you've got to take us seriously. And one of the ways of doing this is actually to have a presence in space. You have to bear in mind that since well, the last 15 years we've had more sort of private business people getting involved, and maybe they are making a political statement, but they're also making a statement about, we are powerful people. You think of Bezos or Branson or Elon Musk, they're all saying, take us seriously. So the private corporations getting involved is not apolitical, but it's certainly something about the power of business as well. I suppose with the Cold War there was much more an ideological aspect to the rivalry between two different world visions. That element has gone to a certain extent, and it's not so clear that it's just, say, America or USSR, Russia. Obviously we've got China coming in, but we've got so many countries who are wanting to get involved. Maybe not seeing it so much as a race, but certainly wanting to participate, even if they don't anticipate they could actually win.
Therefore, while competition can lead to advances in technology, as the first space race demonstrated, a greater global capacity for space exploration can also be beneficial by increasing knowledge about the universe where we all live. Even if China's rise causes a new space race, unlike before, it seems not all consequences will be negative.